Namaste everyone and welcome to our satsang this morning. It is always good to be with all of you. At the present time, as you know, we are in the wonderful celebration of Ganesha Chaturthi. And so I'm going to change the usual way in which I start satsang. I would like to begin with honoring the divine in the form of Sri Ganesha with Ganesh mantra and Ganesh stotra. And I will not recite the Guru Stotram in its entirety or Nirvana Shatkam, but just a few verses from Guru Stotram and the opening verse of Nirvana Shatkam. But please join both of us in honoring the divine Brahman in the form of Sri Ganesha, who is, as this stotra describes, he is Chidananda, Chidanandarupa Ganesha, Ganesham Brahma Rupam Ganesham Bhajema. So we'll begin with Ganesh mantra. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvana Ajam Nirvikalpam Nirakaramekam Niranandamanandamadvaitapurnam Param nirgunam nirvishesham niriyam Parabrahmarupam Ganesham bhajema Parabrahmarupam Ganesham bhajema Gunatitamanam Chidanandarupam Chidabhasakam sarvagam jnanagamyam Munidhyeyamaka sharupam paresham Parabrahmarupam Ganesham bhajema Parabrahmarupam Ganesham bhajema Jagatkaranam Karanajnanarupam Suradim Sukhadim Ganesham Gunesham Jagadvyapinam Vishwavandyam Suresham Parabrahmarupam Ganesham bhajema Parabrahmarupam Ganesham bhajema Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam yena characharam Tatpadam darshitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mano Buddhi Hankar Chitta चित्तानिनाहम् न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्र न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातुर् न वा पञ्चकोश न वा पाणिपादं न चोपस्थपायु चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं 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 मनो बुद्धि अहंकार चित्तानि नाहम् न च श्रोत्र जिह्वे न च घ्राण नेत्र न च व्योम भूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं. Rupa generally normally means form, but in the statement Chidanandarupa, Chidanandarupa, Rupa here means natya, intrinsic natya. So Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Chidananda. I have the natya of Chidananda, not the form of Chidananda, because Chidananda is nirakara, is without form. So, Aham Atma, I am Atma, which we have discussed as awareness, Chit, Chidananda, Chit. The awareness because of which my body is known. I'm aware of my body. The body is an object. I objectify the body. My senses are known. My sense organs are known. I am aware of the sense organs. They are all objects. The mind, manaha, all the movements of the mind, all the thought expressions of the mind are known. They are illumined. They are revealed by Atma. I am Atma, awareness, which makes my thoughts known, which makes my emotions known. So the meaning of Chit is Atma, which is awareness. This awareness, as we are learning, is also Ananda, Chidananda. Ananda, as I explained in an earlier discussion, Ananda is fullness, free from all limits, free from all defects. It is, Ananda is Purna, it is fullness. It is free from the limits of time, as we discussed. I am awareness, which is the observer of time and change, free from time and change, present in all states of experiences. Waking state I am, dream state I am, In sleep, I am. And this Atma, this awareness, is identical in my body, in your body. It is not two. Bodies differ, our minds differ, our thoughts differ, but as Atma, there is no difference. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am Atma, Aham Atma Sarva Bhuteshu. I am the Atma in all, the one Atma in all. So differences are at the level of body, mind, intellect. Identity is in Atma, which is not two. So it is not that because we are all identical in Atma, that there are no differences in the way we think, the way we understand ourselves, or the way we relate to others, or the way in which we understand the world in which we live. Unity as Atman does not mean that we don't think differently, or feel differently, or relate differently to the universe in which we live. And I want you to also remember the beautiful analogy, and it is only an analogy from the Chandogya Upanishad that we discussed about clay and clay objects. It's a very helpful analogy, but like all analogies, like all examples, at some point in time every example will break down and not go as far as Brahman goes, because Brahman is unique. But the analogy that I talked a lot about is that even as clay objects can be many, but clay alone constitutes the nature of each object. Clay objects are many, but they all have the nature of clay. Clay is, in this sense, Satyam. Atma, which is Chidananda, constitutes the nature of everything that exists. It is the truth of all that exists. And so we can say that a clay pot is clay, but as I said, we cannot say that that clay is a clay pot. We can say that a clay pot is clay, but we cannot say that clay is only a clay pot, because clay can be any object, and clay can be no object. It can be free from all objects as well. So this is a point that I'll return to throughout our discussion of Nirvana Shatkam. So similarly, we will say body, Sharira, is Chidananda, but Chidananda is not a body, because Chidananda, every form is Chidananda's form. The sense organs are Chidananda, but Chidananda is not a sense organ. Mind is Chidananda, but Chidananda is not a mind, because Chidananda is the source of everything that exists. So every form in the universe is Chidananda, but Chidananda is not any particular form. All forms are Chidananda's form. So this is why we speak in the Hindu tradition of the world as the body of God, because all forms in the universe are Chidananda's form. It is not Chidananda plus something else. You can't have the infinite plus anything else, but the one Chidananda as all forms. Sun is Chidananda, moon is Chidananda, but Chidananda is not the moon, because Chidananda is also the sun is also Chidananda. It is not a particular object. If it was a particular object, this is important to understand. If Chidananda was one particular object, it could not be anything else. But Chidananda is, all forms are Chidananda's forms, and Chidananda is also beyond all forms. So today I come to the last word in this first verse. So far I've only been discussing the first verse, and this is the fourth talk on Nirvana Shatkam. So today I come to word Shivoham, Shivoham. Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. We have discussed Chit and Ananda, Chidananda. I mentioned Rupa as intrinsic nature. Today I want to focus on Shivoham, Shivoham. And what I hope that you will see, so far in this, in our discussion, that this Shatakam is a very beautiful and poetic composition by Sri Shankara, but it is a composition not only to be recited, but it is a composition to be understood. So when we say Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, these are not only words to be recited, but it's a teaching. These are words to be understood in meaning. This meaning has to be internalized, and then this meaning has to transform the way we live our lives in this world. This is why this is so important. In fact, I would say that for understanding the Vedanta, Nirvana Shatkam is enough because everything is in this beautiful composition. Shankara has given in this single composition of 6 verses the essence of the teaching of the Vedanta, the teaching of the Upanishads. So if you understand and memorize this composition, make it a part of our everyday contemplation, our everyday reflection, it suffices, it is enough. So, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. Shivoham, Shivoham, like Chidananda is also, like even as Chidananda is Chit Ananda, then we put it together and we get Chidananda. The ta becomes a di, ada. Shivoham is also a compound Sanskrit. Shiva aham. So Shiva aham, I am Shiva, I am Shiva, becomes Shivoham, Shivoham. Shiva aham, Shivoham. Why? What does Shivoham add to our understanding of Chidananda? Why Shiva aham? Now, the word Shiva has many meanings. As a Sanskrit word, Shiva means auspicious. Shiva means sacred. Shiva means benevolent, auspicious, sacred, good, benevolent are all meanings of the basic word Shiva. So, at the first level, we can say Shivoham speaks of Chidananda, speaks of the nature of Atman as auspicious, as sacred, in the sense that it is free from all impurities. It is free from all defects. Atma is Shuddha. Shiva is also Shuddha. Atman is pure, Shuddha. It is Nirmala, free from all malas, free from all impurities. So in this sense, it is Shiva, free from all mala, Nirmala, and Shuddha. It is pure. So when one says Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva aham, the meaning also is that I am Atma, awareness, which is free from all impurities, free from all defects, and which is also pure. But as of course you know well, we all know that Shiva is also one of the names in the Hindu tradition for Ishwara, for Bhagavan, for the divine, for God, the one from whom all have come, the one by whom everything is sustained, and the one to whom all return. So just as, we have many names in the Hindu tradition for this Ishwara. This morning also we chanted Ganesh Stotra, and you will see in the third line of Ganesh Stotra I said Jagat Karanam, the one who is the creator of the universe. So Ganesha is another name and form for Ishwara, as Shiva is, or Vishnu is, or Durga is. So Ishwara in the Upanishads is the one from whom all has come. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, Ishwara is defined as Yatova imani bhutani jayante. Yatova, the one from whom imani bhutani, all these beings that exist, jayante, the one from whom the whole creation emerges, the one who gives birth to creation. Yena jatani jivanti, and having given birth to all, the one who sustains all. Yena jatani jivanti, the one because of whom everything lives, everything continues to exist. Yat prayantya bisham vishanti, and the one to whom everything returns. The one from whom all have come, by whom all are sustained, and to whom all return. Yatova imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayantya bisham vishanti is Ishwara. Ishwara. And Shiva is one of the names for Ishwara, for Bhagavan. So, as the source of all that exists, as the seed from whom all creation, the entire creation has come, Ishwara, Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesha, Durga, whatever your chosen name for the one is, Ishwara as the source of all creation is Sarvagya. Sarvagya. Sarva means all. Sarvagya, all knowing. The one who has the knowledge to create everything is also all knowing. Sarvagya. And the one who has the knowledge to create everything is also has the power or potential to do so. So we say that Ishwara is also not only Sarvagya, not only all-knowing, but also Sarvashakti, Sarvashaktiman, the one in whom abides all the power, all the potential to create. Sarvagya, all knowledge, Sarvashaktiman, all power. And thirdly, Sarvavyapaka. Sarvavyapaka means, and having the knowledge and the potential, the powers to create, the one who is present in all of the creation. Sarvavyapaka, the one who is present everywhere. The name is Sarvavyapaka, the one who pervades everything, the one who is present in all that is created, or the one in whom the entire creation exists. So all of these qualities, these three qualities, Sarvagya, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapaka, all of these qualities also apply to Shiva or to Vishnu or to Ganesha as Ishwara. This is a very basic understanding of who is Ishwara. He is a Jagat Karanam, the creator of the universe, the sustainer of the universe, the one to whom everything returns. So now, think with me for a moment. If we take the meaning of Shiva, the word Shiva, the name Shiva, as Ishwara, the statement, coming now to Nirvana Shatkam, the last line of Nirvana Shatkam, if we take the meaning of Shiva as Ishwara, Jagat Karanam, the creator of the universe, who possesses Sarvagyan, Sarva Shaktiman, who is Sarva Vyapaka, the statement Shivoham, which is Shiva Aham, I am Shiva, becomes a challenging statement to understand. A difficult statement. There seems to be a potential difficulty here, if this is what we understand Shiva to mean. Because as I am saying, Shiva is Sarvagya, Shiva is Sarva Shaktiman, Shiva is Sarva Vyapaka. You can add adjectives to Shiva as Ishwara. And you or I, or Shiva is Ishwara, I am Jiva, you are Jiva, means we are individual living human beings. We call Jiva. Jiva and Ishwara, the creator and the created. As an individual human being, I am not Sarvagya. I am not all-knowing. I only know a little. You know a little. We have limited knowledge. We say that our knowledge is alpagya, limited. Limited by the professions we specialize in, limited by our individual histories. We're not omniscient. Sarvagya is omniscience. We're not omniscient. And at the same time, we have individual bodies, and the capacities of our bodies are also limited. We are not Sarva Shakti. We are Alpa Shakti. Alpa is the opposite of Sarva. Sarva means all knowing, all power. Alpa is limited. Limited knowledge, limited ability, powers or ability. And this body is also limited by space. I am here, not there. Ishwara is Sarva Vyapaka. Ishwara is present everywhere. So the difficulty is that the problem is, how can a human being, and I use the word Jiva now for the human being, the individual living human being, the Jiva, how can a human being, a Jiva, with limited knowledge, unlimited abilities, Alpa Shakti, Alpagya, claim to be identical with Ishwara? How can a Jiva say, Shiva Aham, Shivoham, 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 Shivoham? How can a being with limited knowledge and limited powers say, I am equal to, I am a being with unlimited knowledge and unlimited powers? Shivoham, Shivoham. It is impossible. So in Sanskrit we have an expression, when we have such a conflict, we say, Viruddha dharma akrantatvat. Viruddha means incompatible. Viruddha dharma. Dharma also means qualities. So these two, Jiva, individual, and Ishwara, Bhagavan, Viruddha dharma, have qualities, attributes, dharma, that are viruddha, that exclude each other, that are incompatible, akrantatvat. Viruddha dharma akrantatvat. Because limited knowledge is not the same as omniscience. Limited powers is not the same as Sarva Shakti. So this is the same problem. I am just outlining the problem first for you. Of course, it's an apparent problem, as we will see. This is the same problem, we will discuss with reference to Chandogya Upanishad, where you have that famous great sentence, as we say, Mahavakya Tattvamasi, that thou art. Tat, that, tvam, thou, art, the verb, Tattvamasi, that thou art. So the primary meaning of Tat there is Ishwara, who, as I'm saying, is possessed of unlimited knowledge and power. And the primary meaning of Tvam is the Jiva, the individual, with limited powers and knowledge. So how can they be identical? How can Tat and Tvam be How can the teacher say Tattvamasi? What does he mean? And so how can we in Nirvana Shatkam say Shivoham, 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 Shiva Aham, Shiva Aham? How can we say that? If I make such an assertion without understanding what I am saying, then, it's an egocentric statement. It's egocentrism, or what is worse, it's narcissism to say that without understanding what one is saying. This is why teaching is so important. Proper understanding of the meaning of the text is so important. Because the Hindu tradition does not condone egocentrism. It does not condone narcissism. There's so much discussion there. There is, if you take Bhagavad Gita, for example, in 16th chapter, Sri Krishna has a long discussion of this human being who says, and says, Ishwaroham, I am Ishwara. Condemns the person for saying Ishwaroham. Idam adya maya labdham. Imam prapsyase manoratham. I have gained this today, tomorrow I will gain that. Idam asti apime bhavishyati punardharma. I have destroyed this one, I will destroy the other one tomorrow. Asau maya hata shatru hanishye cha paramapi Ishwaroham. The arrogant person, Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, says Ishwaroham, Aham bhogi, everything is for my own enjoyment. Siddhoham, I am perfect. Balavan, I have all powers. Who is there like me? Adhyo bijanavanasmi. Konyos asti sadrisho maya. Who is there equal in this world to me? Iti ajnana vimohita. This is ignorance, Bhagavad Gita says. This is moha, delusion. One should not speak like this. One should not say Ishwaroham, I am Ishwara. I am perfect, Siddhoham, Balavan, I am the strongest. There is no one equal to me. Ko anyu asti sadrisho maya. This is how an asura thinks. This is asuric. This is asuric mentality. This is asuric thinking condemned in Bhagavad Gita. So follow me now. So if Shivoham is not an expression of arrogance, how are we to understand the words? What is the wisdom? What is the wisdom in this word, Shivoham, Shivoham? What is Shankara teaching? What is the tradition? What is the insight of the tradition? So let me go back to clarify this, which is a very important clarification, because no one should leave the study of Nirvana Shatkam with a misunderstanding of this. So let me go back to the Chandogya Upanishad analogy example that we used in the last expression. So follow me carefully. Just be relaxed and follow me. So let us suppose that I visit a potter, someone who makes, pottery, clay pottery. And I said, could you make me 2 clay vessels? 2 vessels of clay. I want a huge one with a capacity to hold at least 1,000 gallons of water. Make me the biggest clay pot that you can make, because I need to store water for the dry season. But I can't drink directly from this huge clay tank almost. I want a small clay vessel. I want a small clay cup, which I can use for drinking water. Just one sip of water is enough. So he makes me these two clay vessels, huge clay vessel and a small clay cup for drinking. And then you visit my home one day, and I tell you, I have two clay vessels that are identical. I have two identical clay vessels. And you said, could you show me what you have? And so I take you and I say, here is one. And I show you the gigantic clay tank with a 1,000-gallon capacity. And then I show you my clay cup, 1 cup capacity. And then you say, but how can you say that these are one and the same? How can this small cup that can only hold one drink of water be identical to the 1,000 capacity clay container? So unless you think that there is something wrong with me, and you at least give me some credit, you will think that maybe the professor means something else when he says that I have two clay vessels that are identical. Maybe because having 1,000-gallon capacity is not the same as having 1 cup, the capacity of 1 cup. But you trust me and you say, maybe he has to mean something else. He can't simply mean that these are the same, because as I said before, viruddha dharma, the qualities of one and the qualities of the other are not the same. They exclude each other. Clearly, the small clay cup is not identical with the large one in size or in capacity. So, suppose I said to the small clay cup in relation to the large clay vessel, Tattvamasi, you are that. I am not speaking of size or capacity. I am speaking of the fact that the nature, swabhava, nature, the truth, satyam, of each one is clay. Small cup is clay. What is the nature of the small cup? Clay. What is the nature of the capacity, the tank, with 1,000 gallon? Clay. Large vessel is clay. Clay is the truth of both. And I am pointing to clay. I'm not talking of capacity, size, form. I'm talking of rupa, intrinsic nature. The intrinsic nature of the small cup, the intrinsic nature of the clay tank is clay. Similarly, you can think of your own analogies. Water, in the form of a tsunami, has the power that a tiny wave in the ocean does not have. It can move, perhaps mountains, but the nature of the tsunami and the nature of the tiny wave is water. As water, they are identical, but certainly they are not identical in terms of capacity, power, etc. So similarly, if I say to you, Shiva Tvamasi, you are Shiva. Shiva, Tvam, you, Asi, art. What do I mean? So here we come back to where I started. Shiva, in this sense, has two meanings. What in Sanskrit we speak of these two meanings. There is the literal meaning of the word, which is in Sanskrit. You don't have to remember this, but I just mentioned Vachyartha. The literal meaning of the word is Vachyartha, And then there is the implied meaning, lakshyartha. Vatyartha is literal meaning and lakshyartha is implied meaning. So literal meaning of the word Shiva is creator of the universe, Ishwara. Jagat Karana. Karana means cause, creator. Jagat Karana Ishwara is the literal meaning of Shiva, possessed, as I said before, of all knowledge, Sarvagya, all powers, Sarva Shakti. Right? And similarly, when I say Shiva Twamasi, the literal meaning of Tvam, you, is the individual human being possessed of limited knowledge and limited powers. Right? But between these two, there is difference. We say Bheda. There is definitely Bheda. Difference. There is definitely difference. Between the all-knowing and limited knowledge, between all powers and limited powers, there is difference. Bheda. Great difference. Great gulf. So the identity between, when we say Shivoham, I am Shiva, Shiva Aham, the identity between the individual human being and Shiva is not at the literal meaning of the word Shiva, which is Ishwara. Therefore, we must understand the identity at the implied level of the word Shiva, which is Chidananda. Chidananda. What is the implied meaning of Shiva? Chidanandarupa. Shiva is, like Ganesha, we just chanted Chidananda. Chidanandarupa, Shiva is Chidanandarupa. Ishwara's nature is Chidananda. Jiva's nature is Chidananda. Chidanandarupa. 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 Shivoham, Shivoham. Chidanandoham. I am Chidananda. So it is the implied level, lakshyartha, that there is identity with Shiva. Even as there is identity between the small cup of clay and the huge clay vessel, identity is that they share the nature as clay, even though capacities could not be different, more different. So who am I? I am Chidananda in the form of a human being with limited body and limited mind, because of which I have limited knowledge and limited ability. Shiva is Chidananda with unlimited knowledge and unlimited powers. This is why Chidananda with limited knowledge and limited power can pray. To Chidananda with unlimited knowledge and unlimited powers, I can also be a devotee, a bhakta. Difference is obvious. Non-difference is not obvious. Difference between small clay pot and large clay pot is obvious. Identity is not always obvious. So I am Chidananda with limited knowledge and ability. Shiva is Chidananda with unlimited knowledge and unlimited powers. There is no identity between limited knowledge and unlimited knowledge. There is identity because the nature of the Jiva is Chidananda, the nature of Shiva is Chidananda. Chidananda is the same, is the truth of both. So when we say Tattvamasi, we are speaking of Chidananda. That Chidananda you are. The small clay cup is different from the large one, but identical as clay. The wave in the ocean is different from the gigantic tsunami, but share a common nature as water. This has to be understood well. So we must therefore pay particular attention to the structure of the last sentence in this verse. The first three are all the negations. Mano buddha hankara chittani naham. nacha srota jighve, nacha grana netra, nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu, Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham. I can't emphasize enough that Chidananda Rupa precedes Shivoham Shivoham. Chidanandarupa precedes Shivoham Shivoham. Why? To make the point that because it is as Chidananda, there is identity and unity with Shiva. Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham. If we took Chidanandarupa out, Shivoham Shivoham will become a statement of arrogance. Chidanandarupa, which precedes Shivoham Shivoham, points to where the identity is. Points to where the identity is. Saying Shivoham Shivoham without understanding Chidanandarupa is dangerous. Is dangerous. Chidanandarupa has to be understood before one says Shivoham Shivoham. Shivoham Shivoham. Or else it becomes like the Ishwaroham that Sri Krishna condemns in Bhagavad Gita. So when we understand this, we understand that every form in the universe is Chidananda's form. That the truth of every form is Chidananda. Chidananda plus. Chidananda plus. So, Chidananda with wings that can fly in the sky is a bird. When we see a bird, we should see Chidananda with wings. Chidananda with roots, leaves, branches, fruit is the tree. Chidananda with four legs, taking walks with you, sitting in your lap is your pet dog. Chidananda who cannot walk and who you hold playfully in your arms is your grandson or your granddaughter. Every form is Chidananda's form, and every form has its own unique and special qualities that distinguish it from every other form. There is uniqueness, beautiful uniqueness that comes from Chidananda in each form. No two forms are alike. But every form is Chidananda's form. Every form is Chidananda plus certain attributes, certain qualities, certain characteristics. We celebrate diversity and we also affirm the unity. And the unity is Chidananda, Chidanandarupa. You can say Chidanandarupa, I can say Chidanandarupa. And when we say it, we are affirming this unity that we share. But we also celebrate the unique gifts of each mind, the unique abilities of each body. I don't have the ability to run like Usain Bolt. I don't have the gifts of mind like an Einstein, but I can appreciate it and I can rejoice in it, I can celebrate it. The gifts of mind of the great poets, the great artists, the great musicians. These are all gifts of body and mind that are gifts of Chidananda. But every form is Chidananda plus certain unique abilities and qualities. What we see here in this great composition of Shankara, Nirvana Shatkam, is exactly what we see, in so many different ways in the teachings of other sacred texts. As some of you may remember also, I've been referring to Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sarva means all. Khalu idam, all indeed is Chidananda. Here the word Brahman is used. All is Chidananda. Because all forms are Chidananda's forms. and Chidananda constitutes the nature of every form. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma is one of the great teachings of Chandogya Upanishad. It's like a Mahavakya also, great sentence. Tajjalanti Shanti Upasita. It's interesting, very interesting mantra in Chandogya Upanishad. This truth, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Tajjalaniti, that one from whom all have come, by whom all are sustained, and to whom all return. The Rishi, the teacher says, Shanta Upasita. Think of, understand in peace. Shanta Upasita. Contemplate peacefully. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. That all is indeed this one. Chandogya Upanishad. And again, you've been studying Bhagavad Gita with Dr. Sani and previously also with Dr. Kumar. You remember so many beautiful verses of Bhagavad Gita that bring us back to this essential truth. I just want to remind you of one verse. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. This person, Samahatma, this Mahatma, Sudurlabha, is very, very rare. Very rare. And what makes this wise person rare? What does this person know that makes such a person rare? He knows, or she knows, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Sarva means all. Vasudeva is Ishwara. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. That all is Ishwara. That all forms are Ishwara's forms. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. This is the gist of knowledge. That all forms are the forms of the divine, the one. Samahatma Sudurlabha. One who knows this is very rare. It's a rare knowledge. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. It takes many lives before Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Before one comes to this, the deep understanding of this truth, that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that all forms are forms of this one reality. Your form is a form of this reality. My form is a form of this reality. Every form in the universe. This is the truth. A beautiful truth. I also love, as many of you who have been listening to my pravachan, my teachings, know that I have a special love also for the poetic compositions of the great Tulsidas, and his version of the Ramcharit Manas. And, one of my favorite texts is where he starts his composition. And he starts his composition with this truth. He puts it in a very beautiful way. Here we use the word Shiva. We can use any name for the divine, Vishnu, as I said, Ganesha, or Durga. You choose your Ishtanam, your favorite name. But Tulsidas says, Akarachari lakha chaurasi, jati jiva jalathala nababasi. That they are, I can't count, he says. They are countless forms of living beings inhabiting, the air, the earth, and the oceans. Jati jiva jalathala nababasi. How splendid and how diverse are the forms of life on this planet. But I don't know each form of life, and I don't know how many forms of lives there are, but I know one thing, he says. Siya Ram mein Sabha Jagajani. I know this about them all, that they are all forms of the One. Siya Rama Mai, Sabha Jagajani. For him, God, he has his own particular name and form for the divine. And for him, the divine is Siya Ram. Like Shiva Parvati, he is Siya Ram. His favorite form of God is Siya Ram, the union of Sri Ram and Sita, Siya Ram. Siya Rama Maya, Siya Rama Maya, Sabha Jagajani. I know them all to be forms of the divine. But look how he ends that beautiful verse. Siya Rama Maya, Sabha Jagajani, Karahu Pranama Jora Jugapani. And knowing this, he says, I bring my hands together in reverential respect for every form of life. So if you ask me, and as we discuss Nirvana Shatkam, we should also be discussing this. We ask ourselves, what is the outcome of this knowledge? What does this knowledge require of me? What is the outcome of this knowledge? Then we say it is deep respect for the dignity and the value of every being. This is why he says, Siya Rama Mai Sabha Jagajani, I bring my hands, Karahu Pranama Jora Jugapani. Deep respect and value for the dignity of every being that lives. So this is where the transformative dimension of this wisdom comes about. If this wisdom does not lead us to an attitude of deep respect and value for everyone, beyond the boundaries of nation, religion, if it doesn't do that, then we have not really grasped it. We have not really understood it. It also asks something of us. If it doesn't also make us awaken us a deeper compassion for all. Daya, compassion, is also a fruit, is a phala of this knowledge. And Tulsidas summarizes this compassion very beautifully also. Para dukha dukha sukha sukha. It means that para dukha dukha, when another suffers, I suffer. Para dukha dukha sukha sukha. In the joy of when another is happy, I experience happiness. To identify with the other in joy and in suffering is the fruit of this wisdom of Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. So we must understand the meaning of Shivoham, Shivoham at this, what I call the implied meaning of Shiva. Shiva as Chidananda. It is because we share the nature of Chidananda that we have an identity with each other. And I can say, Mad Atma Sarva Bhutatma, that myself is the self of all. Mad Atma Sarva Bhutatma, myself as the self of all. So, with this foundation that we've now had four discussions on the first verse of Nirvana Shatkam, but you will see how important it is that I lay this foundation well, and then it makes the teaching much easier, not without challenges, but makes it a little bit easier for me now to move on to the rest of the text, so I can then proceed a bit faster in unpacking the meaning of verses 2 to verse 6. But it is necessary that we spend this time together in careful analysis of each word, and especially of the words Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. So I will stop here this morning, And next week there is another lecture by Dr. Sani on Bhaja Govindam, and then we continue with Nirvana Shatkam the following week. So all of you, please join us, and in the meantime, I wish that you stay safe and you stay well, and you contemplate and memorize Nirvana Shatkam and contemplate Chidanandarupa Shivoham. Shivoham. Thank you all very much for joining us. Namaste, and I will just close with a prayer, with mantra. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmana va prakritir svabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeeti samarpayami. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnaat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate.